Welkom terug by die groot ontbyt. Nou ja, ons gesels vanmôre met chef Jessica Munisamy. Sy is die uitvoerende chef van Modern Tailors. Nou dit is ook 'n gesprek wat ons met haar wil voer na aanleiding van die aktivisme, die 16 dae van aktivisme teen geweld, geslagsgeweld. En ons hoor 'n bietjie oor haar lewe self, ons leer haar bietjie ken, oor hoe sy haar pad oopbeklei het tot bo. En ons leer ook oor watter uitdagings vrouens in die kosbedryf op hierdie stadium in die Oos-daar. Good morning, chef.
Good morning, thank
It's
you.
lovely having you here this morning.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Let's talk about your journey in the culinary industry first. Where did you start? You are now the executive chef at Modern Tailors.
Correct.
How did you get to this point in life?
So I started in high school, actually, when I got introduced. My dad moved schools, and I got introduced to the hospitality subject. And after that, I fell in love with it. So I went against my dad even, and I just studied to be a chef in hotel and catering management. And he was like, it's not a career. From there, I kind of worked all sectors from a freestanding corporate catering industry. And then I went abroad to Qatar and Dubai and ended up back here during COVID, of course. And then boom, here we are at Modern Tailors, which is currently my biggest baby.
That is incredible. But, you know, for someone that doesn't really know a lot of chefs or how the industry works, what challenges have you faced as a female, for example, in the culinary industry? Like if we talk about harassment or gender-based violence.
So I think from the beginning, I've experienced it just after college. My first head chef refused to teach me anything, because he was like, you shouldn't be in here in the first place. So literally he had thrown a knife towards me, a board towards me.
Wow.
And I've experienced a lot going through the industry throughout the years, abroad in Qatar and Dubai as well. I had a chef spit at me. And, you know, so we always come across these challenges as females in the industry, I believe. Over the years, I've learned that. And it's so difficult for us to actually stand up very often, because we feel so intimidated, because it's a male-driven, you know, industry. And it took a lot. It took a lot. I used to fight a lot. I still fight a lot. Ideally, that's how I make my mark, is by fighting through.
You're talking about standing up and fighting through it. It is remarkable to think that one can be so easily intimidated by these acts, and the bravery it takes to stand up and to fight back. I mean, it is a platform that you have.
Definitely.
How can women in the industry also get on that platform and build the confidence to do the same thing?
I think with us women in the industry, it's just having the strength and the belief in yourself. Not be scared. I know I was always so scared to stand up, to say anything, because I was a junior just entering the industry. And then it took me a while to realize that it's getting me nowhere. I'm just getting disrespected. I'm getting held back. I'm not allowed to learn what I need to learn and grow. And if I don't stand up and talk about it and fight against them, I'm just going to be left behind as just a non-existent in the kitchen. And that's all it comes down to. You know, I try to teach my staff the exact same thing. It's something you don't like, come forward and say it. Say it. It doesn't matter who gets upset by it, but you are feeling a certain way. Feel it, express it, and that's the most important thing.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous to hear that someone threw a knife at you and you've been spat at. And I think in no industry that should happen to anyone. And the fact that you went through that and you can sit here in a leadership role and actually help other people is remarkable. How do you find the strength, though? Because if someone threw a knife at me, I don't think I'd just keep going in the industry. You know, it takes like a really big and brave person to go, well, you know what, despite that, I know my value and I know what my talents are and this is what I'm doing. But how do you do that? Because it's easier said than done when people treat you like that.
I think it was so difficult for me, because as well as, like, you know, of course I had my moments where I went into a corner and cried my eyes out, but I never showed that weakness. At the end of the day, I stood up. And, you know, my dad brought me up as difficult as he did, and he was hard on me. But he taught me how to be strong and to fight for what I wanted to fight. I mean, I fought him to be a chef, you know. So at the end of the day, that was my inner strength, and that's what I use. I've always been very self-driven, and I just pushed through in that sense. But yeah, no, it's been difficult. It has been.
It is remarkable that you kept fighting and you are where you are today in a leadership position at Modern Tailors. If you think about everything you've gone through, the systemic, hierarchical, kind of almost dictatorial way the industry, the chef industry works, it is frightening for most people listening to it now for the first time to realize that is the way it operates. Almost the respect for your elders and your peers must all just bow down to them. And you think, but surely there is a different way of fostering growth and compassion and learning. What would your advice be to young female students in the culinary industry stepping into it now for the first time? Do they need to be prepared for this?
They do. They do. It's not getting any easier. We might have a little bit more, pliability in the industry, but it isn't. I think for us as ladies, the girls got to go in and, I try to hire as many female chefs as possible. And there's moments where they break down and cry and they're like, I'm resigning, I can't do this anymore, chef. And I'm like, whoa, this is not how we do it. We are strong. We have the ability to go through this and do what we need to do. And I think for me, it's something that I drive them on is always believing in themselves, knowing that you do have the strength to go through. You are going to fight. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days. I too have those days. But the important thing is just carry on fighting through it and just know that the end game is you making your mark in your kitchen.
Do you think it is a problem worldwide that it is very a male-dominant industry, or is it specifically South Africa where you find it's more a male-dominant industry and it's hard for females to enter into?
Definitely worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had the same experiences in Qatar and Dubai as well, where people challenged me. I had chefs that looked at me and said, I was younger than them, I was female, coming in, telling them what to do, how to do it, and it was never easy. I think a lot of the time is, like my staff and other team members always just say, South African you would always come out. And I'm like, exactly. She would definitely come out because I would never let it stand. I would. I mean, in an Arab country, in a different country on its own, you get put in a certain way and you're like, okay, you know, as much as you have rights, but you can't really go forward and just do whatever you want to do in that sense because it's just a sense of, okay, no, it's an unspoken rule, just keep quiet and just stay in the corner and just kind of roll over. And
the system has to change. The way, especially in South Africa, let's talk about South Africa in itself, it has to change.
100%.
Do you have a vision? Do you have a plan? Or what would you like to see happen in South Africa in the industry, specifically when it comes to the empowerment of women in the kitchens?
For me, particularly, is policies and procedures getting put in place for the teams, and action being taken. Because so many times, I come going to a kitchen, multiple kitchens, and I come across where certain words are said, and gestures are made and a rub up against, or all of those things should be taken seriously. Should not be overlooked. So for me, ideally, it's just, the seriousness of the matter, putting in policies and procedures in place, acting on it, and actually acknowledging the victims that go through it, not just victim shaming them and being like, oh, you're being dramatic, oh, you're a woman, you're just being, oversensitive kind of thing. Exactly, which is it's not the case because you come across where you have inappropriate things get said to you. I mean, and I'm in a kitchen every day as well, and I'm in the industry and I go into different places and I come across the exact same thing on a daily basis. Sure. And you have to point it out, but you expect to have the support. So for me, ideally, I would love to see more owners and companies take the initiative, put stricter policies in place for the team members and for the women to feel safe.
We all agree with you, and we hope that is the case. Thank you so much, Chef Jessica, for being here this morning. Thank you for fighting the good fight.
Yes.
And thank you for being a role model that we can look up to.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ja, daai keer het Chef Jessica Munisamy van Modern Tailors. Dis interessant om te besef dat sommige industrieë in Suid-Afrika nog steeds argaïs is. Kom ons noem dit nou wat dit is. En nog steeds soveel diskriminasie teenoor vroue het. Kom ons hoop dit verander binnekort. Daar is natuurlik restaurante waar dit nie die geval is nie. En ons almal vier daai restaurante in kombuise vir wat hulle doen.